Welcome, Rebecca. I am so excited to have you here today so that we can just have a nice little fun chat about the Virtual Art Summit, about your artwork, and about what play means to you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here today.
So you're coming in from the UK. Where are you located?
Yeah, so I'm near Brighton, which is down on the south coast of the UK, so
Oh,
not too far from the coast.
that's
Yeah,
great. And the weather, is it turning spring for you yet?
I wish it was. It's grey and windy and rainy at the moment. The daffodils are out, the blossoms out, but it's still really cold.
Yeah, ready for the warmer months
Yeah,
and more
me too.
beach time, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say thank you so much for doing the Virtual Art Summit. You have been really busy and showing up in every place imaginable for the last couple of years. And I just love it. Every time I see your work and you have such a different take on collage and mixed media, it's like, oh, I just want to learn from you. And so naturally it felt right for me to ask you to be in the Virtual Art Summit because I want to learn your process and how you make art. Like it's just gorgeous. So
Oh
thank
well, thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be invited. But yeah, it's been a busy couple of years.
Yeah, you've had a lot of great opportunity. Once your eye got caught and everybody else was like, "Ooh, I want to learn from you as well." So you have a very like a different way of doing things by using photographs and your colors and your layers are just really gorgeous. Where do you think that style came from? Like how did it evolve? That's my first curious question. Then we can go into how the whole art career evolved, but I'm curious about this specific style that you have.
I don't know really. I mean, I taught before I kind of got into the online teaching, I taught in secondary schools, media and art textiles sort of stuff, and photography. So I learned a lot from teaching in that environment, I think. And yeah, photography's kind of always been something that I've been interested in and that I've done a lot of. And it's been the last couple of years that I've tried to kind of incorporate that a lot more into what I've been doing. It just seems like a natural kind of way for it to go. But I think maybe because I've not come into mixed media in kind of the traditional way, I've not, I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe that's why it looks different.
That's great, though. That means that you really have your own point of view. But I love the idea of using photography because I'm taking pictures all the time, but I've never really figured out how to use my own imagery in my artwork. And so that's like a great point of view that you're teaching and that you're bringing and incorporating a different element. I even over the last year have made it, and I haven't even taken it because I was in the Collage Maker Summit with you, and now you're in the Virtual Art Summit, and I get to learn from you. But I've been taking for the last year. This is kind of funny. I've been taking pictures specifically looking for that contrast and that interest. Just based off of my inspiration from you. I
Oh,
haven't used them in my collage or in my artwork at all, but it's just really fun. Like, especially if I'm like out in nature, especially in the winter when everything's dry
yeah,
and kind
it's
of like
nice silhouette. Yeah.
huge contrast. And I'm like, I want to see. So I'm really excited to dive in and kind of learn that. How do you feel about I'm assuming you're just so generously giving these ideas in your lessons. People are bound to start picking up the Rebecca Chapman style and using photography in their work. Did you bless and release that idea to others? Because
Yeah, I mean, I
a
think
lot of copycats like me.
yeah, I know. I mean, I think it's part of art, isn't it? That artists throughout time have always been inspired by other people, and that's going to happen whether you're sharing on Instagram or you're in a gallery somewhere. People are going to look at your work and want to try it, and especially if you're teaching it as well. I mean, I think that yeah, I mean the techniques that I'm doing probably they're not new and groundbreaking. They've been done before. Other people have done them, and other people keep doing them influenced by me as well if they see my work. But I think I don't know. I really enjoy just the sharing and the teaching of it. So yeah, it's strange sometimes when you do see things and you think, oh, that looks familiar, and then, but yeah, I enjoy that, and I think also my style is going to keep evolving as well. It's not going to stay the same. I might not always use photography in my work, and I think that's important to keep changing as well. I'm sure I will do. So yeah, it's not something that I'll maybe do forever, but hopefully I can keep learning as well as I'm doing it.
Yeah, that's kind of my philosophy too as a teacher. Obviously, I'm putting it out into the world, so the more the merrier. And I agree with you, like there's always new iterations of ideas. They're just circled amongst us. So
Yeah.
I would love to go back a little bit in time. You were a teacher for secondary school. Tell me
Yeah.
about your transition and like your whole art, like how art became part of your life and then when you started teaching it online.
Yeah. well, I didn't actually do art for my degree. I did history of art at university.
Oh, okay.
I was quite sort of academic, and even though I loved art, I did A-level art and everything. I was kind of, I don't know, at that time, I didn't really think that I could ever make a living as an artist, and I could, had that sort of mentality at that time. So yeah, so I did history of art, thinking that that could get me a proper job. Um, not sure whether it did. I worked in galleries for a bit after I graduated, and then realised that I wanted to do more sort of the teaching side of it. So I actually went and taught English as a foreign language in Spain for a year first, and then came back and did my training as an art teacher. Yeah, so that's kind of how I got into it. And then when I had my first son, we started a family. I decided not to go back into teaching and to stay at home with the boys whilst they've been young. So they're now 7 and 4, just so kind of getting out of those early early years.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have much time. Yeah, I carried on my art after I stopped teaching, but only just whenever I could, just try to do a little bit here and there. And that's how I kind of got into sharing on Instagram, because I just felt like I needed I don't know, just some way of recording what I was doing, really. It wasn't kind of with an intention to teach or anything. It was just, this is what I'm doing during that time when I can grab 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I used to set a timer for sort of 15 minutes, and once I'd, got him to sleep, then I'd be there just with paint pens and collage papers and just make something, anything, didn't matter what it was. But I think posting it on Instagram kind of made me do it. It kind of made it into a routine that I was going to post it every day. I wasn't expecting anybody to, to look at it or make comments and things. But once that community started building, then it really sort of motivated me to keep doing it. Yeah, and it's just kind of grown from there, really.
That's the beauty of Instagram. Yes, it does kind of, in some ways, that trap of I've got to post something every day.
Yeah.
And there are many artists who are like kind of tired of that, but I can't ever chastise Instagram in the sense that it's built us this beautiful community.
The community, yeah.
Like really the most amazing people. I wouldn't have ever known about you if it wasn't for it. It's like just there's still so many things that are beautiful about having Instagram in our lives, and I have to remind myself of that and take a break if I need to. But I love that it held you accountable, and that you made time for it when the kids were napping, or now they're old enough that they're probably all in school, right?
So September they're supposed to be in school, yeah. So a bit more time.
A little bit more time. Yeah. That's beautiful. But then you were proposed with the challenge of teaching online not so long ago, huh?
Yeah, so Tiffany and Wendy got in touch because I did the 100-day project, which was 100 days of using collage fodder. And so I'd been sharing things that I've been doing for that. And they contacted me and said, would I do a little video for the fodder challenge? And so we did that. And then that turned into fodder school. And so I taught in the first one, and I'm part of it for the second one as well. So yeah, that's been great, and kind of, again, just building that community as well, and keeping it going. Yeah.
That's exciting. Do you see yourself continuing into the future, creating more art courses or collaborations?
Yeah, definitely. I'm working on trying to find time to work on my own course, which I'm hoping is going to be out once the little guy's in school in September. That's that's the time. So yeah, lots of things in the pipeline for then.
That's awesome. I love it when sometimes we don't set out with a destination in mind of where we're going to go with something, and it just unveils itself. Like, who would have ever thought, especially like, well, you are younger than me, but my early years of making art, it's the only option were galleries, or teaching in a college. And now here we look at this opportunity that the internet's brought us, and the worldwide community of artists. It's like, how exciting is that?
Yeah, I think when I was kind of studying and doing my A-levels, I didn't have a clue of what an artist did. I think that, Instagram and this whole community has kind of opened up. So you do have more of an idea of what an artist does day to day, and what is involved in that career. Whereas before, it was all a bit of a mystery. It was a bit of a secret. And it was just that sort of perception that, well, unless you're, absolutely amazing, you're never going to get into a gallery, and, you're never going to make any money about it. You're going to be a starving artist. That's the thing, isn't it?
I mean, it's still a challenge now. And I think schools
yeah.
in general are going to perpetuate that proper artists. I put that in big quotes for those who aren't actually watching the video. Proper artists sells in galleries, but we now know that there are so many avenues, and I can hear where you're coming from in the sense that you decided to do art history, which to me is extraordinarily fascinating. I studied art history in college, but I didn't finish the degree. And I've had the opportunity, and you live in Europe too, so I've had an opportunity to travel around Europe and see so much art. So I can see that idea of, well, I'll just do something that will give me more assured future in the industry. And many do end up teaching in school, but I love that there are so many new ways that we can create a future for ourselves as artists. So it's really kind
definitely.
of opened up since those first days of, like you said, you worked in a gallery. I've worked in a gallery too, and you see how hard it is. And that even if you're to sell a lot, you're not going to make a lot of money.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
unless you're like a New York or Paris or London artist, So
yeah.
it just shifts that view a lot. So our theme of Virtual Art Summit this year is return to play. And the reason that I picked that as a theme is because we've been through so much over the last couple of years. And this is my 4th year doing the Virtual Art Summit. And I really felt like at the end of doing the summit last year, which was to encourage people to find their voice, which is an important part of it, that I may have missed the underlying need of what we do with art. Why we're creating is such a big outlet, a big part of, just self-nourishment and expression. And I just knew that like my whole theme moving forward needed to be about play, about enjoyment, about exploration. And so it's been really fun with the Virtual Art Summit this year that gives a lot of freedom of expression for all of the artists. And I just want to hear your take on that. Like, how do you incorporate play? What are some of your favorite techniques to do besides photography and other things that you feel like really can encourage the creative who's listening right now to play?
I think for me, like my work at the moment is literally all about play because I kind of don't feel much pressure with it. Like I'm not creating art for a big collection or an exhibition or to even try and sell it. When I first started making after I'd finished teaching, I was kind of hung up on that idea of I've got to make something and I've got to be able to sell it. And so I ended up going down this road of making things that, I thought would sell, but not even artwork. I was doing kind of almost like textile more crafty type things because I was busy, when I went to art and craft fairs, that was the type of thing that was there. And then it's only when I kind of let that go and thought, no, I'm not going to try and sell anything. I'm just going to play and I'm just going to explore what I want to do. That's when I really started enjoying it. I think that's a good mindset to have, to just think, it's just paper, what can go wrong, and I think sometimes you hold yourself back thinking that what you're going to create has to be some sort of masterpiece. But if you kind of switch that around, that you're just playing, then it takes the pressure off. And so often I'm a big fan of a timer. So if I am feeling stuck, I'll set the timer and I'll think, right, I'll just play for 15 minutes. And most of the time I'll end up going over 15 minutes because it's that thing of once you get started, you can't stop then. I mean, I work in a really small space. This is kind of a corner of our bedroom. So it's a small space. So I don't have the problem of having lots and lots of materials out because I think sometimes that can make it hard to play if you've got lots of stuff. It's kind of like with kids, isn't it? When they've got lots of toys out, they find it hard to play. But if they've got just one toy in front of them, they'll play with that toy.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same with art materials. If you've got too much stuff out, it's hard. But if you just limit yourself to, I don't know, one crayon or a really limited color palette, something like that, then it just gives you a lot more space to play, I suppose.
The
Yeah,
limited supplies actually opens up to more creativity, I find. You have
definitely.
less time having to make decisions. And sometimes what I'll do is just like what was left on my desk from the last mess I
Yeah,
made.
just use
And it's
that.
just like I'm only going to use what was left here. And I've made some really weird and interesting things because of that. Like something that was like I would have never have created otherwise.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where that experimentation comes in. What kind of supplies are your favorite right now, other than paper and photography?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of a Posca pen. That is the big chunky ones are my favourite at the moment. I used to use those a lot in the beginning when I was kind of making my art in nap time. 15
Mhm.
minutes was not enough time to kind of set up a whole palette of paint. So I would have paint pens and just use those just for that instant colour and you can just get started straight away. So I still use those quite a lot. I like the Stabilo chunky, the woodies, they're brilliant, and the Stabilo all pencils. I absolutely love those in black and blue. They're definitely a favourite.
Yes, I love those. They're all of our favorite supplies too. Do you use like found materials in your work?
Yeah, I do. I use a lot of sort of strange. What was I using earlier? Yeah, so I've got my palette from last night. So I've got like a curtain ring, which is like,
Uh-huh.
but it's really great for stamping a circle. That's what I was doing.
Oh, how
So
cool
dipping
is that?
things now. And then that's a peg as well. So a peg is really good for mark making. It's like a wooden peg dipped in paint and makes really interesting marks. So yeah, I do kind of, as most artists are, a bit of a magpie for finding these things, yeah, to make marks with.
I like that term, a magpie. Yes, for sure. My studio has definitely gotten more abundant of supplies and hoarding little treasures and whatnot. I'm kind of obsessed right now with doilies for some reason.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah,
that, right? So that's a fun, like for me, a playful part of the process is finding something out of the ordinary that others maybe haven't really been using, that you don't see as often, like scavenging around in the shed or in the kitchen for like a
Yeah,
shower wing for a circle. That's a great idea. So
yeah. I'm definitely like that with paper as well. Any paper that's going, I'm like, oh, I can use that. Don't throw that away.
yeah, exactly. Magazines and
Yeah,
junk mail and wrapping and whatever packaging, like what kind
packaging.
of fun way to use it. What photography do you usually find makes the best photography for using in your collage work?
Usually things, well, I'm really inspired by nature, so usually that's where the starting point comes from for me. Silhouettes are really good, so anything with a high contrast. One of the main things I do is turning the image into black and white. So when I'm taking, I don't necessarily go out looking for things, but I've just kind of, I seem to, be drawn to finding those sorts of things. So where it's a silhouette against maybe a tree against a white sky. Cloudy days are good. So you don't really want a blue sky, you want a white, cloudy day, and flowers sort of silhouetted against that. They're my favorites.
Okay, and do you print them on just regular paper, or
Yeah.
you don't do photography paper?
No, not at the moment. Yeah, generally just on I have a colour laser printer and just print onto that onto normal copy paper.
I love that. I'm fascinated too by using buildings and other structures. So we'll see how that all kind of shows up in a playful way.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
virtual art summit. I have like we're just at this point, like for this recording still in March and the summit isn't till June. So I'm really looking forward to being able to dive into everybody's project,
yeah.
which they're still coming in.
Yeah. Mine's in progress at the moment, so it has got some photography in there, but more about kind of using photographs as inspiration. So that's I think we're all guilty of often taking photos and then completely forgetting about them that we've taken them. So I'm in the process of I'm doing the 100-day project at the moment as well, and trying to go back and use lots of old photographs that I've taken and trying to take inspiration from them, which has been really good. Yeah, I'm enjoying that.
So everyone, as you're listening to this, get your cameras ready. Just your smartphone, right? That's enough.
Yeah. That's what I use.
Pictures
Yeah.
and get ready for a really fun project. All right, I love to ask every time I do an interview, I love to ask this question, and I want you to like no holds bar, no rules, money isn't an issue, time isn't an issue. What is your big audacious dream? If anything could happen in the future for you, what would you love?
I think it would have to include some sort of travel, I think, probably. And yeah, probably have some time where I don't know, traveling the world, but sharing my artwork at the same time somehow.
Yeah,
Maybe with some, nice country house with a big studio that I run retreats and things like that. That's, somewhere warm. That's,
somewhere
that's
warm.
the dream. Yeah.
Back to Spain.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That would be lovely. I would sign up for a retreat with you in a heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any last advice for our listeners then on just loosening up and returning to play?
I think using the timer is definitely a good one to do. I think, don't put it off. Just start and just play. And just one thing I do is, have lots of different pieces of paper out or have different sketchbooks, and don't be worried about confining yourself to one thing. Work across a few at the same time.
Multiple projects at once. So
Yeah,
here
definitely.
and mark there and
Yeah, I find that's really good as well. If you do work from a small space like I do, then I mean, it's a blessing and a curse, but then I end up spreading out across the whole house with different sketchbooks in different places and materials in different places. But it is good so you can do it when you can grab 5-10 minutes and you can just fit it into your day.
oh, there you go. So make sure you've left, like what I do lately is just leave my Posca markers and some paper on the counter next to the kitchen. So
Yeah, exactly.
in between the water boiling and whatever, you can
It's amazing what you can do in just 10 minutes.
amazing what you can do in 10 minutes. And then, like you said, you get lost and you don't want to quit.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. This was a really fun chat, and I love your work and I love just being able to hang out with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been really fun.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.